I'm going to be doing a tier list for Marvel movies from whenever they came out to 2022. And the last movie that came out was Black Panther. But it's not on this list, sadly. Um, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, sorry. But it's not on this list, so I'm not gonna include it. Maybe when I do a future video of like later phases, I will include that in like the rest of the movies. And also, I haven't really watched a lot of the shows yet. I have watched some of the shows, but a lot of the other ones I haven't, so I'm gonna exclude some of them. Maybe in the future video I will include those. And so, yeah, but I will be doing all of the movies that I've watched, which is everything except for Wakanda Forever. And yeah, let's just get into it. By the way, the tiers are S tier, which is like the GOAT of Marvel movies, of course. A is like, yes, this is very good, but it has some flaws within it. B is like, yeah, it's mid. It's meh, I guess. C is, yeah, it's pretty bad, but it could be worse. D is like, this is like the worst. I couldn't rewatch this. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the first movie. The first movie is Ant-Man and the Wasp. And this one I'm gonna have to put in mid. Also the next movie I think is Ant-Man as well, so I'm gonna put this next to Ant-Man and the Wasp in the mid. While the second movie is kind of better than the first movie in terms of like its enjoyability, I would say both of them are kind of like mid because it's like the Ant-Man movies are nothing to drive home about. Yeah, they're very funny. I love Paul Rudd as Scott. I think he like fits so well into this role. It totally suits his personality. I love Hope. I love Hank. His powers are kind of strange because like I don't really get how like he can like run across people's like bodies, but then like he can fling them around. So is he like heavy or is like how can they not feel him? Like it's very weird. Like it's not like there's very little consistency with his powers and stuff. But which I could do a whole video on, but I'm just gonna move on. Avengers Age of Ultron. This one I think I'm gonna put in A tier because I actually really like this movie. I think this is a very solid second Avengers movie because like I think the villain of this movie, Ultron, is basically a creation of like the Tony Stark strive to create this agenda for world peace. And what he ultimately does is create this like amalgamation of AI that wants to destroy the world. And I thought this was very interesting in that like they create their own villain and there are their own villains in some way. And they kind of explore that and they're kind of tasked to realize their own faults. Kind of way. And I actually love the addition of the new characters, like Wanda and Pietro, and then also Vision as well. Um, Overall, this is very good. And I really enjoyed this movie. Avengers Infinity War. I would have to put this in S tier. I think this was definitely one of the GOATs. Everyone will tell you that they love this movie. Definitely when you go see it in theaters, it's a very different experience than like rewatching it at home. I think that like when I watched it in theaters, it was a very surreal experience because at the end, everyone was shocked like by what happens and watching everybody disappear. All your favorite characters just like get blooped or robbed. I don't remember, but yeah, it was like very surreal experience bringing together Marvel characters from like all different types of like backgrounds, like the Guardians, the Avengers, um, Hulk, like Asgardians, everybody together, and it doesn't feel like it's a mess. It feels like it's coherent, and it feels like it's like it actually makes sense. It's not goofy in any way. It's really well done, and Thanos is like such a menacing villain. I feel like he was really well done. Like he was like the driving point of like this, like the Infinity Saga, because he was like this villain that we all grew to love, I think, and he was really done justice in this film. Um, Next movie is Captain Marvel. Oh my god, I have so much stuff to say about this, but I could make an entire video on this. But I'm just gonna keep it short. I think Captain Marvel is in C tier. It could be worse, but it's definitely for me not the most enjoyable movie. I think that like she was supposed to be like a poster person for like female empowerment. But it just didn't work because if you like think about like when Wonder Woman came out, I think Wonder Woman was much more of like a movie that could be considered female empowerment than this one. Just because she was just like not a likable character at all in this movie. She was not. She came across as very arrogant, and what I'm trying to say is like Captain Marvel was had potential, but she was just not very likable. The storyline was very confusing. I remember there being aliens. It was extremely forgettable. I think I don't remember much about this movie. She was supposed to be the first Avenger or something, after Captain America, of course, but like like the actual named Avenger. But like her reasoning for like not helping with the events on Earth, it doesn't make sense very much. Like she was like off somewhere, but she didn't come back until much later. Especially like when like there was the Battle of New York. If you consider like all the events that happened within Earth on Earth, like within like the span of the MCU, like it wouldn't make any sense to explain why like she's so powerful but she wasn't even there to help. And so like it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't help. Like Marvel has to be consistent with their continuity, and this just doesn't like add up. Winter Soldier, I would have to put this in one of the S tiers. This is one of the goats as well, because this movie, anyone who's ever seen this movie would be able to say like, yeah, this is like one of the best Marvel movies. Honestly, because I have to say, this movie actually made me love Captain America so much. Like I actually didn't really care for him as much as I did, but I would say that like now I care about him more. I love the fight choreography in this movie. I loved the cinematography, everything, like the character arc of Captain America, um, especially with like the introduction of Bucky as the villain, was crazy. It was crazy. Black Widow was great as well. Like this movie had everything. I'm a very big fan of spy espionage films as well, so I feel like merging that kind of thing with the superhero genre works very well in this movie. Captain America the First Soldier. Some of you about to be real mad at me, but it must be said. This is just my opinion, but I'm gonna put this in meh, above the Ant-Man movies, but still meh. I would say that yeah, this is a very good film. Don't get me wrong. Like I loved this movie as like the origin story for Captain America. I loved Bucky. I loved all the characters. Red Skull was great as the villain. I loved Peggy. But in general, would I rewatch this movie? as much as I rewatch other Marvel movies. Not really. Sometimes I would like get really bored of this movie because it's like a very slow burn at times. But yeah, it was like I think this movie is important to watch for Captain America's story arc because I know that like some people don't watch like older movies of Marvel like now that they're fans of Marvel, which is weird to me because I feel like you should watch all the movies, but nevertheless, like it's like very important to know like how he became who he was and to see like the roots of where he started. Civil War. Civil War definitely S tier. I would definitely say that this one was one of my favorite movies as well. Not as much as Winter Soldier, but this one really solidified why Marvel is on a roll and they're like making some of the best superhero movies ever. And I feel like Civil War was something that like when I went to theaters was just as hyped as like almost as hyped as Infinity War. I feel like everyone was excited for this one and it felt really fun to go to theaters and watch this. Um I think that like um the villain in this movie in general was very different from like the traditional superhero villains that we get. Like Zemo was very like, oh, I'm gonna attack them from the inside and like turn them against each other. That was very genius, I think. Like that's like something that we haven't seen before yet. And yeah, next movie I'm gonna do is Doctor Strange. I'm gonna put this in A tier. Okay, I do have a lot of faults with this movie, but this movie in general had some of the best visual effects I've ever seen. Especially like with the mirror dimension and what do you call those things? Like magic portals or whatever that they create. Yeah, they were amazing, and I feel like Doctor Strange's story arc, like character arc in this movie, has been one of the best character arcs for Marvel characters that we've seen. He is actually really starting to grow on me. Um, I think that the villain in this movie, though, is very underutilized. I don't really get his motivation. Like, he just wants to destroy the world or something. Like, that's very generic or whatever. Yeah, but I really like this movie. Endgame, I would have to say that I would put this next to Infinity War in the GOAT tier because it is as good as Infinity War, don't get me wrong. I love the ending battle. Like the ending battle was iconic. Like literally, when I went to the theaters, we were just like screaming nonstop. Like I know everyone who was there to watch the movie in peace like was extremely annoyed, but we were screaming nonstop because like we were so hyped about the like battle at the end. But I do think that like it plot wise, Endgame kind of like was a little like I think it was like a little weighed down because of its like time traveling plot line. It was like very weird because it's like how did they advance so quickly, you know what I mean? Because like I feel like they should have like I don't know, like it was very quick for them to like invent time travel like straight away, you know. But they did that, I guess, so whatever. Like they had to find a way to save the universe, and time travel. They just like made that up really quick, I guess. That kind of bothered me, but that's it. Um, Guardians of the Galaxy, I would have to put this in S tier. Okay, yeah. Sorry, no. I can't click for shit. Okay, I'm gonna put this in S tier behind the rest. This was one of the most fun movies I've ever watched, I think. Like, I think James Gunn's humor really slaps. And I'm really excited to see the new Guardians movie because of that. I really didn't like most of the characters in this. Like I do like Gamora and I do like Peter, and I do like Rocket, but like individually, I kind of like don't want to. I don't want to see like individual movies of them just because like I don't think that would do well. I don't think I like them individually, but as a team, I think they work really well. I think as a team, they, I guess, I don't know, they just make a really fantastic group of galaxy fighters, I guess. Okay, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Okay, I would have to put this in A tier. Yeah, over here. I think that, it was as enjoyable as the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. But I think that in general, I think the first one was much more enjoyable than the rest. This one felt kind of boring to me at times, honestly, but I did enjoy like Peter's relationship with his father develop and like how he has a new relationship with Yondu and like how he has to navigate through that. Like this whole entire movie was just like about daddy issues, which is really funny. But yeah, I think the action in this movie was pretty cool, and Baby Groot was like one of the highlights, of course. Um, Spider-Man: Home Far From Home. Okay, I'm gonna put this in. I'm gonna put this here. Okay, so I'm going to put Far From Home in the A category simply because I think that this movie was really good in that I love the character of Mysterio, villain of Mysterio, and I loved Peter's arc over when it like transitions from, you know, him kind of like taking on Iron Man's mantle after his death and kind of like dealing with that loss. But I feel like I don't know. I feel like Peter Parker is more of that hero that's just like your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And I feel like him taking on a world threat like this and having the world on his shoulders, acting like, you know, this like um holder for this like new holder for the Iron Man legacy. It kind of like puts too much on his shoulders. I think he should have just stuck to being this friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and that would have been a great movie instead. Um, but yeah, you know, I did enjoy this movie actually. I thought it was really good. Just had faults in it. Um, the next one is the Hulk. I would definitely put this in D tier, simply because I remember nothing about this movie. I do not remember a single inkling of like what happens because I remember I think I've just watched this movie like about 2 times and each of the 2 times I think I like fell asleep or just paused it because I just didn't want to revisit it, but like honestly I just didn't like it at all. Like, yeah, why was this movie even made? I hope we get like a standalone Hulk movie though, because I feel like that would be interesting to do a standalone Hulk movie that's actually good. Because I do really like the character of Hulk. I think Mark Ruffalo does a better job though than Edward Norton, but that's just my opinion. Um, Iron Man 2. I'm going to put this in. Oh no, above Captain Marvel. Wait, how do I. Okay. I'm gonna put this above Captain Marvel and C tier simply because I don't really like this movie. It's not very rewatchable for me. I did like aspects of it. I thought that like Rhodes was very good. Pepper was very good. I like the introduction of Black Widow, of course. But like honestly, it's just the same thing with like hit I Tony Stark being like arrogant at the end and kind of just like realizing his responsibilities in the end. And the villain was very generic. Like it was just this rival that like was jealous of him and wanted the same tech. And then this like other guy who just wanted vengeance for no reason whatsoever. He just doesn't like Tony. Yeah, it just felt really like boring at times. Yeah. Iron Man 3. I'm gonna put this in B tier. Right here, yeah. I think this movie was enjoyable in the sense that like I did really enjoy the action in this much more. But like parts of it were still like meh. Like they weren't really that good. I did think like Tony's arc was complete in this series. Like it like actually solidified why he's one of the greatest heroes and like how like does the suit make the man or does the man make the suit? That question is really interesting and yeah. Moving on, the first Iron Man movie. I'm gonna have to put this in S tier. Over here, yeah. I think that the first Iron Man movie was one of the most iconic movies ever because not only did it start the MCU, but it just like was a really good movie in general because it like actually made Iron Man very likable as a character. Like he wasn't as popular as like many other heroes were, like superheroes that we know of, like Superman and Batman, but like I feel like this kind of like made Iron Man a household name, you know? And Tony Stark, like he does go through a wild character arc in this film. Like he comes to realize that his weapons industry is um, fueling like terrorist groups when he gets captured, and he kind of like goes through this journey of realization. And yeah, Black Panther. I'm going to have to say that this movie is one of the S tiers. Oh no, sorry. Is one of the S tiers. I'm gonna put this here. I think this movie is definitely a cultural revolution. I think this movie really does well in its villain, Killmonger, because Killmonger is like one of the best MCU villains. I feel like you feel like at times you're rooting for him, even though you do want like T'Challa to win. I think that Killmonger was definitely one of my favorites in this like characters ever. I also love the Dora Milaje. I love Nakia. I love Shuri. I love all the cultural references in this movie. I love like how they showed Wakanda, and I feel like it was so vibrant and full of culture. Um, yeah, and also like Chadwick Boseman's performance as T'Challa was one of the best. Like he's the GOAT, of course. Sadly, he passed, but you know, this movie will be his legacy, and it's definitely a memory. And if like every time I think of him, I think of this movie. Homecoming, I think, was one of the one. It was really, really good. I'm gonna put this here because I think like Homecoming was a really good movie to me in that it really made me love Spider-Man again. I feel like it like a lot of people have said that like yeah, it does kind of like feel like Spider-Man is Iron Man Jr., which is kind of mean, but yeah, you know, but like he I think they did a good job of like in integrating Spider-Man into the MCU without having to like make it so much a part of the universe. Like he could be his own character, but like but he could also be situated within this universe. In a way, and I'm really glad that they did that. I did also like all the side characters as well. I loved Ned, I loved MJ, I loved Aunt May, and I loved the villain, which was played by Michael Keaton, the Vulture. I thought he really did a good job, and the story was really good. So yeah, I really like this movie. Um, Thor. Okay. Thor would have to go into B tier. Does it go after or before? Okay, I'm gonna go before. Because I think Thor is a really good movie, and in the sense that like I did really like it as a solo movie. I thought the performances by the actors were really stellar. Chris Hemsworth and whoever played Loki, Tom Hiddleston, yeah, and whoever played Odin as well. I think their performances were stellar. Though Loki was a highlight for me because his character arc really did make me love the Thor franchise. Like I watched the Thor franchise because I get to see Loki in it, and that's one of my favorite parts. And Thor is, I guess, like he's a great character, but this movie didn't make me love him in general. Like I felt like he was a very, I don't know, one-dimensional, like kind of character. I didn't. At the end, I didn't really get how he like redeemed himself. Like I wish there would be more of a sense that he would have like learned more. Instead of like I guess like falling in love with Jane was something that like made him learn humility and kindness. But I wish there would be more to a sense of like his character development. But it was just a good film nonetheless. It was fun. Thor Ragnarok. I'm gonna have to put this in D tier right here. Simply because I did not really like this film. Everything was very dark and cheery. Especially the villains. Villain was very underutilized, and in terms of like the story, did not understand it as well. It was very forgettable. Um, Something about this gemstone or whatever, this red stone that would control Jane and whatever, like and then the introduction of elves or something. It was very all over the place. Everything was just whack. Like I'm sorry, this was just some really bad storytelling in my opinion. I would have to put this definitely in D tier. There were some highlights though. Mostly of Loki. But other than that, I wouldn't classify this as like a great movie, honestly. Um, it's pretty bad. For Ragnarok, this one has to be in A tier. I'm gonna put it here. I do think that while there is like a lot of flaws within this, because I didn't really feel like the humor slapped as much as everyone said it did. I did really like this film because I did think that this was a fresh take on the Thor franchise, compared to the two previous movies. The introduction of like new characters such as Hela and Valkyrie was like very well done because they were very enjoyable. The Hulk was very good. I didn't think that like the introduction of the Hulk into the Thor series would be like it would be weird. I don't know, like he just doesn't fit. But I think in this movie, like it kind of defied my expectations. I think the Hulk was very much needed in this. Um, and Loki was obviously great. He's one of my favorite characters in the MCU currently, and I actually really love this film. Like, yeah, I would have to say Taika Waititi's kind of like vision for Thor really helped, and like the whole aesthetic of it really drew me in. Yeah. Um, Avengers. I'm gonna put this in S tier. Honestly, yeah, I'm gonna put this. Yeah, I'm gonna put this here. Honestly, I think Avengers movie was one of the best movies ever released from from this franchise because I was like, um, in my personal experience, this was the one of the first movie going experiences that I've ever had, like theater going experiences that I've ever had, and I've never had the most fun ever. It, I've been like to several theaters, and the first time I went to the Avengers screening, I had a blast because I was like, oh my god, this like completely new thing engulfed my life immediately. Like I enjoyed all the cosplayers of like Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, everybody, but like it was like surreal to like go to the theaters and watch this. And this was a pretty good movie, I think. Like I found this enjoyable from start to finish. The Battle of New York was one of my favorite battles ever. And yeah, I think honestly, I feel like this will be a movie that I'm going to rewatch and remember for a long time. So yeah. Um, WandaVision. I'm going to put WandaVision over here. I think that WandaVision was a very fresh take in the MCU. I feel like it's something that we've never really seen before, but they did something that was like they did take a risk that like was paid off very well. At the end, I think it became very formulaic, but in general, it's inspiration in like sitcoms and like Bewitched and all of that. It was like very unique, I guess. And the development of like Wanda's character is very important in this series. And I felt like I don't know, like I felt like there were some issues with it. But in general, I really liked her transformation from um her grief to like becoming the Scarlet Witch, and yeah, I just felt like this movie really did made me like her more, I think. Next movie is The Falcon the Winter Soldier. Honestly, don't be mad at me, but I'm gonna put this in meh. Right here, yeah. Because honestly, I don't remember much of what goes on in this movie. I just know that like I do. Okay, I'm gonna put this here because I do think that like some parts of it were enjoyable. I do think that like Bucky's character arc was very good. Sam's character arc as well, and his transformation into um, Captain America. All the other side characters as well, like Zemo, Sharon, were very good. I just think that like it's somewhat forgettable, and the villain wasn't very good. Like honestly, I didn't get what their motivations were, except like they were mad at people because they wanted the blip to like to come back or something. I did not get it, but yeah, I just didn't feel like it was that great, honestly, of a TV show. But it did a pretty good job in like solidifying like Sam's Sam's story arc and how he became Captain America in the end. And I'm really like excited to see him in like a new movie of Captain America 4, hopefully in the future. Yeah. Loki. I think this one is definitely going into my goats. No, not that part. I'll put it here. I think that Loki is one of the best series in the MCU. This really solidified why I love the MCU because I love the Loki series. Everything about it was just perfection. Loki's one of my favorite characters, and I feel like this TV show really did him justice. I think that all the characters, Mobius, Sylvie, Renslayer, even they were so complex. Loki was even complex, and we got to see so many sides of him and how his character developed throughout the series. We got to see more of his personalities, and the creation of the TVA was absolutely genius. I feel like exploring time within the MCU and exploring how time is configured, how like timelines are branched. All this was super interesting to me, and that's why from start to finish I was like very invested in the series, and I really liked it, and so that's why it has to be one of the goods. Um, Shang-Chi, I think I'm gonna put this in over here. No, actually, over here. I'm gonna put this here. I think this was a very good movie. In general, I think like um this movie did a lot for Asian representation, of course, but it was actually just like extremely well done in terms of this fight choreography. I think that like especially the scene where he was in this like skyscraper and like there were these bamboo shoots, I guess, where he was fighting those ninjas, absolutely phenomenal. And also the bus scene as well. Like the bus fight was one of the best fight scenes in the MCU, I would argue. This was one of the best origin movies. And I really like the character of Shang-Chi. Going forward in the MCU, I'm looking forward to what he will do next. Black Widow. Okay, I'm gonna have to put this. A lot of you will be mad at me, but I'm gonna have to put this in C tier next to Iron Man 2 and Captain Marvel. Simply because I do not like this movie as much as others, and I think that like this movie kind of like was very bad in terms of like developing Natasha's character. Um, I don't get why this was made. I think like maybe they missed the opportunity to do a Black Widow movie earlier, and so they took the time to do it now, but it's kind of too late, to be honest. And like it feels more like a passing of the baton to Florence Pugh's character, Yelena. I feel like Yelena was the highlight of the movie. She was the absolute best part. But other than that, I think that like, including the family dynamics, I think I enjoyed that. But like, I think this movie is pretty forgettable. And a lot of you are going to be mad at me for that, but it must be said. It's just forgettable and it's not very good. Um, yeah, I didn't think it was very good. I'm not going to rewatch this. What if I'm going to also put this over here? I'm going to put this over here because this one, oh, this one has so much potential, honestly. Like, I was actually looking forward to this one. But genuinely, I think that, like, most of the episodes were very forgettable and very boring. Um, I I thought like T'Challa's episode in the Guardians of the Galaxy was pretty interesting, especially like since Thanos showed up in that like as a good guy, and I was like really confused, but it was pretty funny. I think yeah. So some of the episodes were very boring, and some of them were very good, but like this it's and the zombie episode, it was so underwhelming. Like I remember everyone talking about the zombie episode and we were being so excited about it, but then like I don't know, it just like was what became very underwhelming. Like I don't really get it. I'm hoping season two will be better, but other than that, like I feel like this was this is nothing to drive home about. Nothing special. Hawkeye. Okay, listen to me. I'm gonna put this in A tier simply because I think that like this series was actually one of the best. I'm just gonna say it because I think I really do like the like Christmas theme of it. Um, but I also do like the character of Kate Bishop a lot. I didn't think I thought she was gonna be annoying, but like honestly, she was actually really well done. And I loved Clint and her's dynamic. It's much of her show as it is Clint, but it's like it also goes into like Clint's backstory and like his trauma and like and it unravels that, and so I feel like it is as much of Clint's story as it is hers. Whereas, like, if you go into Black Widow, it's like very much like more of Yelena's story, whereas um, Natasha's sort of in the background, and it's like, yeah, whatever. I guess we don't really get invested in her, but you do get invested in Hawkeye in both Clint and Kate, and like also, I think like the introduction of Kingpin was very nice. Overall, I thought this series was very enjoyable, and I really liked it, and I would watch it again. Um, Eternals. I'm gonna be honest. Yeah, I'm gonna put this in the middle. Yeah, I'm gonna put this in the last tier because I just didn't like a movie at all. I didn't like this movie, not even a little bit. Like, I didn't even like it, like, as, like, going into, I went into the theaters with the most open mind possible because I was like, yeah, this is gonna be a different movie from the rest, and I'm gonna, like, keep my mind open and not kind of, like, think about other Marvel movies when I'm watching this. And so, yeah, it was very different, but it wasn't very good in my opinion. I was bored to death in the theaters. Honestly, like, I don't know why I went to watch this. I kind of, like, wanted to skip it, but I kind of, like, forced myself to because I thought it was gonna be good for some reason, but it wasn't. I just almost fell asleep, and I kind of wanted to work out, not gonna lie. Um, Honestly, none of the characters were as interesting to me. Um, I didn't get invested in any of them. Not even with like the high budget actors and award winning director. This movie I did not care for at all. It was forgettable. I didn't know what anything. Like, I honestly thought it was so forgettable. Like, I couldn't tell you, even though the movie came out like a few months ago. I couldn't tell you the plot already. I couldn't tell you because I didn't care enough for it to like even like remember anything. I think like there's something about the deviants, blah blah, whatever. There's something about the celestials and then the eternals, blah blah. That's all, yeah. And I also everyone that like is arguing with this, being like, oh well, it's supposed to be for comic book fans, like Jack Kirby's Eternals was like a very big comic book series, and so blah blah blah. You wouldn't get it, and I'm like, I don't really care. Like most moviegoers, I guarantee that like after watching this movie, they wouldn't really want to go and read Eternals. Honestly, it seems very yeah. It seems like why was this made? There was too much going on as well. Like everything was just so muddled up together. But I think that you couldn't really keep up with the billions of storylines that kept happening throughout this throughout this movie. So yeah, would not rewatch this again ever. Um, Spider-Man: No Way Home, of course. I would have put this in the S tier. I would put this over here simply because I think that like um Spider-Man: No Way Home. Okay, actually, I'm gonna put this here. I think that Spider-Man: No Way Home is one of the best Spider-Man movies and one of the best MCU movies. I think this just does tremendously for Spider-Man's character arc within the MCU, and it's also a very nostalgic piece because it like brings together like several decades of Spider-Man's history within cinema together in one film, and it does it so brilliantly, and the plot is so consistent, and like yeah, it's like the characterizations um of Spider-Man and like the villains and like Toby and Andrew's character are very good in the sense that like they mesh well together. They're not like overbearing to one another. Um, the plot doesn't like veer away at times. It's very consistent. Like and it's just enjoyable throughout. Like from beginning to end is very enjoyable. I do think that like um it does rely a lot on nostalgia, but I feel like that's sometimes that can be a good thing because like sometimes like spoiling your audience can pay off and like we were really anticipating this, like we were really waiting for this for years and years, and I feel like we finally got it, and like this is the reason why we love Spider-Man so much. Like this is like the reason why we watch movies, I feel like it's superhero fans. um the last few ones are I think mostly TV shows. And then there's Thor, Love and Thunder, and then the rest of them, I don't think I've watched. Oh yeah, there's She-Hulk, which I will do, and then the rest of them I haven't watched, so I will not be doing those. Maybe I'll do those in a future video, but not right now. So, I'll start off with Moon Knight. Moon Knight was very good. I think I'll give this. I'll put this in B tier actually. Um, I cannot click for shit. Sorry. I'm gonna put this. I'm gonna put this here. I think Moon Knight was very good. I think the way that it handles the personalities of like Mark and Steven were great, and then also Jake at the end. But like predominantly Mark and Steven's relationship, what it means to, be a superhero in the sense of like different personalities was very interesting to me because I was like, we've never gotten this, but it feels very real because I know that like um, introducing mental illness and mental health into like the MCU can be like very controversial and a tough topic to tackle, but they actually did it with such grace. And I felt like a lot of the times when people with split personalities are represented within media, it's often like just very dramatized if you watch Split, or like just like not very done well. And so I think Moon Knight handled it very well, and like also the whole thing with like the Egyptian gods and Khonshu was very interesting to say. Um, I think yeah, I really enjoyed this series. Next would be Multiverse of Madness. Okay, I'm gonna put this Multiverse of Madness in B category with above. Yeah, above. Okay, I'm gonna put this here. Oh no, actually, I'm gonna put this with Thor. Um, yeah, I'm gonna put this here. I really did enjoy this movie. It had a very good standout performances, and Sam Raimi's directing was really good. I think some of the horror elements were fantastic to see. I think that like especially with Wanda being the villain, it made her be even more menacing because she's capable of so much as Scarlet Witch, and you feel like it's sort of inevitable for her to win. But I think that like it did a really good job in like portraying these aspects of horror, and like directing. The cinematography was fantastic. But in general, I think this movie was kind of underwhelming in its like multiversal aspects. I do think that like it could have done so much more because it had so much potential. Um, the Illuminati, yeah, I didn't like that part at all. I feel like why was it any point of them being in the movie when they didn't really do much? It was only like a few minutes that they were on screen, but they all got slaughtered really badly. and embarrassingly by Wanda, and I don't really get their actions in the film. Like, if they were around so long, like, wouldn't they have a better strategy? Wouldn't they have a better plan of like handling the situation? But yeah, they did. I guess they were too arrogant or something. Yeah, it was just very weird, um, all of it. But you know, whatever. Yeah, that's my opinion on Multiverse of Madness. I thought it was very underwhelming. Miss Marvel. I think I'm gonna put this. I actually did like this a lot. I'm gonna put this here. I think this was a very good TV show. In general, I think that like the cultural aspects were very interesting, and the cultural aspects were very endearing. It was a very cute show. I think it was very cute, but I wouldn't say that it was like it had a lot of faults. Some of it like it wasn't for me. I felt it like it was very kiddie at times. Like it was very childish. I think this was written for a 14-year-old, but so it wasn't probably for me. But I think that like it's a cute show, obviously. The villains in this movie did not make any sense. Like I felt like the villains, like she exploded in front of Miss Marvel when Miss Marvel told her to, and then like just destroyed all her like work, lifetime's work of like villainry. Like she just gave all that up for no reason. Like I don't get it. Like it was just very weird. I don't know. They could have like made it better, I feel like. But yeah, it was an okay show, I feel like. Um Thor Love and Thunder. I would have to say that this one will go this one will go up like yeah, here. Honestly, I feel that this movie I did not like very much because number one, it was just not like it just not did not live up to expectations. Um, we thought we were getting like the whole rock and roll aesthetic when the songs weren't even like yeah, there was some Zeppelin in there, but it wasn't like living up to that aesthetic. Second, like there were way too much jokes in this movie. I don't think it ever took itself seriously, even though it talked about like concepts such as like kidnapping children and cancer, and then they were making like jokes about it, and then most of the jokes weren't even funny. They didn't even slap. Like at least Thor Ragnarok was funny, you know what I mean? But this movie was just insufferable with their jokes. Third of all, Thor's characterization in this movie is really weird to me because I feel like he lost everything. He lost his whole home and stuff. But he just like acts like nothing happened, and he just like acts like oh it's fine. Like he jokes about it. Like that could be a trauma response. Yes, of course, but like honestly, like after losing everything, even his girlfriend at the end, he like remains the same throughout, you know? Like I would expect not him to be depressed, but just like kind of dealing with the grief and like how he deals with it in certain ways because I don't think he'd be that cheery and like I don't know. Like I guess just a store, but that's just my opinion on it. And like also it was just like Gore was underutilized so much. Like, if you have a actor like Christian Bale, you have an actor like Christian Bale. How are you gonna give him one of the most minimal roles as a villain? Like, he didn't even do that much slaughtering, and his name is Gore the Butcher, and he didn't even butcher gods that much. Like, he butchered one in the beginning, and then that was it. Like, what? Like, I don't. I don't get it. I don't get it. Moving on before I get angry. She-Hulk. Okay. I think this is the last one I've ever watched, and I haven't watched the others. Oh, I have watched, but I'm not gonna do those because they're not part of the MCU. So, at least I don't think they are. But I think, yeah, the last one. Okay, She-Hulk. I'm gonna put She-Hulk in the D tier. I'm sorry, up in the front. Okay, I think this was certainly not a show that was meant for me. I think, even though I'm a woman, I kind of like didn't really like the show at all because I just I don't know what it was. It attempted to be this like legal drama, comedy, and then also a series. Like, like it just like was a mishmash of everything and didn't really know what it was gonna be. Um, and honestly, a lot of the jokes didn't land. It felt very dragged out at times. Some of the episodes were completely all filler, like everything, and then like the ending. The ending was so weird because it was like, oh, it was trying to be different and quirky because it was like, oh, trying to like go outside of the bounds of like what Marvel usually does, but it doesn't really work. Honestly, I thought it was incredibly like incredibly like trying to be as quirky as possible, but the show didn't hit for me. It just didn't like hit as much as it would have. It would seem like it wasn't as deep. It wasn't as like enjoyable. Honestly, yeah, that's my opinion. This is my complete tier list of the shows and movies that I've watched currently. This is just my all of my opinions, so please don't be too judgy. I think that like um, I'm gonna do a future video if I have the time, but yeah, please like and subscribe. This is my very first video. Please be nice to me. Yeah. Bye.